Shalom everyone, and thank you for joining me in the study of Parashat Vayechi, the last Parasha in Sefer Bereshit, in the book of Genesis. And what we would like to do today is to try to talk a little bit about leadership qualities, going through some of Yaakov's children, and to see what Yaakov had to say to his children upon his death, to see how he's trying to hint them why they will get what they get and why they will not get what they maybe should have deserved. Let's try to see what the father, Avinu Yaakov, our father Yaakov, says to his children. So the Torah states, ויקרא יעקב אל בניו, and Yaakov called his children, ויאמר, אאספו ואגידה לכם את אשר יקרא אתכם באחרית הימים. Please come and gather here around me, and I will tell you what will happen to you at the end of times. יקבצו ושמעו בני יעקב, ושמעו אל ישראל אביכם. Again, gathered, come here and listen to me, O children of mine, ושמעו אל ישראל אביכם. Please listen to Israel, your father. You see that the Torah takes really the two names, Yaakov and Israel, which are a little different, but they obviously create one entity. And Yaakov and Yaakov as Israel basically tell his kids, listen to me, I have something important to tell you. Reuben, בכורי אתה. Reuben, you are my firstborn. כוחי וראשית אוני, you are my first strength. יתר שאת ויתר עז, which the English translation will probably say something along the lines of, you should have more than anyone else. However, פחז כמים אל תותר, כי עלית משכבי אביך, אז חיללת יצואי עלה, which we will deal with that a little bit later. But basically, Yaakov is saying to Reuben, you know, Reuben, I didn't really chastise you when it took place, but you did something wrong. After Rachel died, which was my beloved wife, you decided who should I be with, and that was unacceptable. And in a way, you lost your position, and we will elaborate on it a bit more. Shimon and Levi, Achim, they are brothers. Klei Hamas mecherotehem. Their tools are tools of deception. Besodam al tavo nafshi bikhalam al techad kvodi. I don't want to be really associated with them too much. Ki be'apam argu ish, because with their rage and wrath, they killed people. Uvirtzonam ikru shor. Arur apam ki az ve'evratam ki kashat, achalkem beYaakov va'afitzem b'Yisrael. Yaakov says to Shimon and Levi, I'm not that happy with you either. You did something wrong, and I really didn't chastise you as well as I should. I didn't rebuke you as well as I should back then. Now it's time. And now Yehuda, Judah, ata yuducha achecha. Now your brothers will admit that you are the leader. Yadcha be'oref oivecha, ishtachavu lecha bnei avicha. So here we have just some kind of comments about Reuben and Shimon and Levi and Yehuda, and we will try to analyze what Yaakov is telling these four boys, and then we will try to talk about the entire children of Israel. So Rabbi Shimon Raphael Hirsch immediately tried to comment on the first pasuk, not the rebuke to the children, but rather when Yaakov says, ויקרא יעקב אל בניו ויאמר, האספו ואגידה לכם. Come and gather together so I can share with you my thoughts. Rabbi Shimon Raphael here says the following, אנו יודעים מהמשך הדברים, שברגע זה לא ראה יעקב את בניו באחידותם. When Yaakov looked at his children, he saw that they are very different from each other. They are not united, אלא בהבדלים האופייניים שביניהם. You basically see that each one of them is very different. Each one of them maybe even thinks that he should be the leader. And they are not really united yet for a common goal. משום כך הוא אומר להם אתה. And therefore, Rabbi Shimon Raphael here says that Yaakov says to his children, שונים אתם אומנם איש מרעהו. I agree, I understand, I can see it. You are very different. אף על פי כן, even though, or despite the fact that you are so different, התמסרו באותו שוני, ועם אותם הבדלים עצמם, אל הרוח המאחדת אתכם. I'm asking you, I'm really demanding it of you, that you should try to find a way to unite yourself with this special spirit that we have as Am Yisrael, and to overcome your differences, and to try to unite for a common goal. And then, ואז, אגלה לכם את אשר יקרא אתכם באחרית הימים. And then I can tell you what will happen to you at the end of times. Because when you go back to the narrative says that Yaakov called his children and to tell them את אשר יקרא אתכם באחרית הימים. He wanted to predict for them the future. But then he talks to each one of them, give them a critical comment, or then he gives them a blessing. But well, what about the end of times? Rabbi Shimon and Levi here says, I can't tell you that now. If you want to know what will take place at the end of times, the first prerequisite for it is that you need to come united. You need to be united. רק שתהיו כולכם ברוח אחת, תבוא אחרית הימים. The end of times, the ultimate redemption, will come only when you will be united. היא לא תבוא עד שאספו יהפוך למציאות. It will not come until when אספו, come together, gather together, when that will come into fruition, that will be the end of times. ולא עוד, אלא שעצם מהותה של אחרית הימים לא תובן אולי על בוריה עד אז. And Rabbi Shimon Raphael Hirsch adds, and he says, perhaps the entire concept of the end of times maybe will not be really explained until עם ישראל is united. משום כך רומז יעקב לאחרית הימים ברמז קצר בלבד. And that's why Yaakov just mentions אחרית הימים, the end of times, but that's it. He does not talk about it because it's premature. עם ישראל, the children of Israel, need to be united. היקבצו ושימו. Come, gather, and then listen. שתי מילים אלו של אבינו הנוטה למות, these two words of Yaakov, who is about to die, מהוות את היסוד לכל ההיסטוריה היהודית עד לאחרית הימים. That basically describes, delineates the entire Jewish history until the end of times. מבחינה חומרית, from a physical perspective, אתם בני יעקב, מיעוט חסר אונים, you are minority. You are basically powerless. אך דווקא בגלל היותכם מיעוט חסר אונים, but דווקא, specifically, because you are weak and powerless, היקבצו, get together, be united. היו מאוחדים, התכנסו יחד כעם, אחד אל תיפרדו. Our strength is our unity. Specifically because we are not too numerous. We are minority of minority. But when we come together, when you come as a nation and you understand how to bridge the gap between people, how to create a common goal and a common denominator between all different people, that's what gives you the strength. So now, that's the opening statement. So now let's try to analyze at least Reuben, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda. So let's start with Reuben. Reuben, the firstborn. And Rashi comments, Yeter s'et. Yaakov says to Reuben, Yeter s'et. What does that mean, Yeter? From the word more, Yoter. What does it mean, s'et? Says Rashi, ראוי היית להיות יתר על אחיך בכהונה, לשון נשיאות כפיים. Meaning, Reuben was supposed to be the Kohen, not the Levi tribe, the tribe of Levi, but rather the tribe of Reuben. So, what went wrong? פחז כמים. What is פחז? פחז, it's being impetuous. Someone who cannot control his emotions, his desires, his urges. He's impetuous. He says what he thinks. Oh, he says things without really thinking about them. Says Rashi, הפחז והבהלה אשר מיהרת להראות כעסך כמים הללו הממהרים למרוצתם. לכך אל תותר. You showed Reuben twice that you are too impetuous, like the water, that they flow quickly, without stopping, without pausing, without thinking. You did two wrong things. One, when Rachel died and you decided to, at least, to switch the beds and to determine for me, Yaakov, who should I be with? With Leah or Zilpah? You decided I should be with Leah. That's not your business. I understand you're angry that I was always with Rachel, but it's not your business. And if you have something to tell me, come and talk to me. Don't make those decisions by yourself. That was the first time that Reuben showed that he's impetuous. The second time was when they came down from Egypt without Shimon, and the second in command in Egypt, which was Yosef, demanded that they would bring Binyamin. Reuben says to Yaakov, give me Binyamin, I'll take care of him, and if I don't bring him back, you can kill my own two children. Reuben's children are Yaakov's grandchildren. I don't think Yaakov will go for that deal. And Yaakov says to Reuben, you probably have a heart of gold. You have all the good intentions, but you don't know how to control it, how to wait, how to consider things, how to be what we call in Hebrew shakul, deliberate, that you can weigh the things, you know how to articulate things. You cannot be a leader like that. And therefore, אל תרבה ליטול כל היתרות הללו שהיו ראויות לך. And therefore, you lost everything. Reuben lost his privileges because of his nature of being impetuous. The Ramban has perhaps a different angle. The Ramban says, פחז שם דבר, מן האנשים ריקים ופוחזים, ריקים ונמהרים קלי הדעת. The Ramban emphasized the fact that פחז כמים is from the word פוחז, which means someone who is light-headed, someone who is not necessarily impetuous, but rather someone who does not fully understand the depth of things. This is someone who is more interested in the superficiality of things. He does not dig deep in order to understand the essence of the matter, the essence of the issue. It's a guy that, he hangs out with everyone, he's going to join every group. He does not think about what does it mean to me. And in a way, the Ramban, maybe it's even worse than Rashi. Rashi suggested that Reuben was just impetuous. The Ramban suggests that it was not only about being impetuous. It's about someone who maybe cannot really delve into an issue with all its seriousness, to understand the core issue, and then to react. Rabbi Shimon Hirsch suggested another layer in the way that the Torah compare Reuben to water. Pachaz, kamaim, like water. So Rabbi Shimon Hirsch says, Pachaz kan kashur lemaim. There is a connection, there is a link to water. אך כמעט ואין לך דבר בעל תכונות כה רבות ושונות כמים. But it says when you compare it to water, there are so many different meanings to water. You can say that water gives you life. Water can allow things to grow. So maybe Reuben is like water in terms of a very positive interpretation, that he allows people to grow and he gives life. Like, what's the negativity in the way that the Torah tried to compare Reuben to water? And therefore, he suggests, אולי התכונה הנזכרת כאן היא חוסר היציבות הפנימית של המים. The lack of stability of water. If we have water here, you see, it can move. It doesn't stay still, which means it's not stable. ואם כן, יוכל להתפרש פחז כמים, חוסר יציבות כמים. Which means Reuben is not stable. He does not really have a spine. He is not rooted in his values. מים זורמים כלפי מטה בבקשם אחר המקום הנמוך ביותר. Water naturally goes down. They go down and find the lowest place. מים אינם נוזלים והם זורמים במהירות קדימה. And water just flow and they flow fast. בלשון חז"ל מצאנו, in the language of our sages we found, יפחז צלוחיתו. המים עלו על גדותיהם. Water basically overflow. התכונה הכללית ביותר המגדירה כל נוזל כנוזל היא, so the definition of liquid is what? היעדר יכולת החיבור והייחוד. The lack of ability of cementing things together, of gluing things together. הווי אומר חוסר יציבות. So it means a lack of stability. So it's not only lack of stability according to Rabbi Shimon and Levi, it's also the lack of ability to bring things together. If you try to connect things with water, it's impossible. It just flows. Reuben tried. Reuben, in a way, is a very tragic figure in Tanakh. He really tries hard. He tries to be a leader. If you remember in Parashat Vayechi, just a few weeks ago, when we read about the selling of Yosef, some of the brothers immediately says, let's kill him. And he was the one who says, no, throw him to the pit. Because he planned to go back and to rescue Yosef. But they didn't really listen to him too much. They sold him, they didn't ask him. Reuben really tried. But perhaps his lack of stability and his lack of capability or ability to bring people together and to present himself and to be shown as a leader, to be seen as a leader, was something that just didn't play to his advantage. So that's according to Rabbi Shimon and Levi. So we saw Rashi, who talked about the idea of being impetuous. The Ramban talks about the idea of maybe not being able to penetrate the issue, understand the seriousness of the issue. And according to Rabbi Shimon and Levi, is the lack of stability. So this is in a way why Reuben lost his leadership. Now, let's talk about Shimon and Levi. That's the sequence. Reuben is gone in terms of being the leader. So now what about Shimon and Levi? So before we read the Ramban, we all know the story. A few weeks ago, and Shimon and Levi went to Shechem after he took Dinah. All the brothers basically says, okay, if you will circumcise, we will consider giving you Dinah. They did, they circumcised, and then they wiped out the entire city. But Shimon and Levi were the leaders. So obviously they showed some kind of leadership. But now Yaakov is telling them something that he was not happy with them. And he says the following. That's the Ramban. Shimon ולוי אחים יאמר בעלי אחווה. He says Shimon and Levi are brothers. Obviously, the idea that they are brothers is superfluous. We know they are brothers. They are from the same mother and they are brothers. So what does it mean, brothers? בעלי אחווה. Meaning not only brothers, but brotherhood. There is feeling of achva, which means strong feelings towards each other, strong relationships. כי יחם ליבם על אחותם. They were very upset when Dinah was taken. ילמד עליהם זכות כי בקנאתם על האחווה עשו מה שעשו, לומר שאין ראויים לעונש גדול. So basically, Yaakov begins his criticism on them by saying, look, I understand where you are coming from. You are brothers. You are good brothers. You felt the pain for Dinah. You couldn't tolerate the idea that she was being taken and she's being treated the way she was treated. So I'm not going to punish you with a severe punishment. You don't deserve it. However, ולא החטא ראוי להימחל כי הוא חמאס. However, what you did was wrong. I understand what you did, but it was wrong. And therefore, I'm angry with you. I'm rebuking you. והנכון בעיניי, says the Ramban, but what I think is true, says the Ramban, שאמר כי שמעון ולוי אחים גמורים, דומים ומתאחים זה לזה בעצתם ומעשיהם. Meaning Shimon and Levi achim they are almost like twins. They basically have some kind of, they sing together, they think together, they feel together. They are inseparable. That's what Yaakov says to them. וכבר פירשתי כי יעקב קצף על שמעון ולוי בהורגם אנשי העיר בעבור שעשו חמאס, כי הם לא חטאו להם כלל ובאו בברית ונימולו. He says, Ramban, I said, I already explained to you. Yaakov was very upset with Shimon and Levi by the fact that they wiped out the entire city. Because the entire city didn't do too much wrong. Yes, they maybe didn't stand up against Shem and Hamor, telling them that what they did was wrong. But they circumcised, and אולי ישובו אל השם, ויהיו בכולם בכלל אנשי בית אברהם מן הנפש אשר עשו בחרן. This is an amazing commentary that the Ramban suggested. The Ramban says, basically think about it. You have an entire city that agreed, all the males agreed to what? To circumcise, to do Brit Milah. So basically, they are great candidates of what? Of joining the house of Abraham. את הנפש אשר עשו בחרן. And you, Shimon and Levi, you basically killed all those candidates. Yaakov was very upset with Shimon and Levi. ועוד חרה לו, שלא יאמרו כי בעצתו נעשה הדבר. And also he was upset with them because some people would say, probably Yaakov was behind it. He just sent his children, but he was behind it, and Yaakov was not. ויהיה חילול השם שיעשה הנביא חמאס ושוד. And there was going to be, God forbid, a desecration of the name of God, because people would say, Yaakov was the one who told them to circumcise, and when they circumcised and they were weak, he sent his children to kill them. And that would be Chilul Hashem, a desecration of the name of God. So Yaakov, and this is a very delicate balance. What Yaakov is trying to tell them, according to the Ramban, is that I understand where you're coming from. I understand the rage. I understand the anger, the wrath. Dinah was treated awfully, and you felt for her. But a leader cannot just react or act upon his feelings and upon rage. You need to take into consideration other things. For example, the desecration of the name of God, deception, maybe even the potential of those people to become part of the house of Abraham. Now, we are not discussing here the story of Dinah and Hamor and Shem, but it seems to be that what we have on the scale is that you have two young men who were terrified upon hearing what happened to their sister, Dinah. And they didn't take into consideration anything besides one thing. We need to teach those people a lesson. And we need to teach everyone a lesson, everyone in this country. You do not treat our sister like that. Not our daughters and not our sister. And Yaakov, in a way, is the more seasoned, older person who says to them, I understand where you're coming from, but you need to take into consideration other components, other things, other events, other ramifications to what you do. This is a tough decision. This is a tough situation. Because if you remember from Parashat Vayishlach, and I will end with that regarding this story, is that when Yaakov says to them, what did you do? we are really a small number of people and everyone will go and basically gang up on us and will kill us. And they said, what do you think? We will allow our sister to be treated like a prostitute? And that's it. The story is done. I think the Torah, in a very beautiful way, basically describe that there is really no conversation. You have two entities here. Yaakov, who says, you need to take into consideration the entire thing, and Shimon and Levi says, no, we don't need to. We need to focus on one thing. Our sister was treated awfully. We need to teach them a lesson. Who won? Who is right? Who is correct? How to know? Was Yaakov correct? Or Shimon and Levi? Rabbi Shimon Raphael Hirsch also picked up on this verb, or this description, Achim, brothers. And he says the following, שמעון ולוי אחים. שמעון ולוי שותפים בתכונות אופי, שהייתה מכשירה אותם במיוחד לקבל את המנהיגות העתידית של העם היהודי. רבי שמעון רפאל says, after Reuben was gone from the leadership position, really Shimon and Levi were supposed to be the best candidates. הם היו אחים, והראו תחושת אחווה מפותחת מאוד. They showed leadership, they showed sympathy. They showed that they are willing to be guarantors of someone else. שמעון ולוי פעלו נקיים מכל גורם אנוכי עקב עוול שנעשה לקטן בחשיבותו מבני המשפחה, כאילו שלהם נעשה, עצמם נעשה עוול. says Rabbi Shimon Raphael Hirsch, look at Shimon and Levi. They were willing to go to war. They were willing to put themselves at risk. For whom? For Dinah, their sister. And they felt like the injustice was done to them, not only to her. And they took ownership on her. When Yaakov didn't, they did. So in a way, that's what you want from a leader. You want the leader to feel the sense of sympathy and empathy. You want to have the leader feeling the sense of that it was done to him. So what's wrong? אולם, כלי חמאס מחירותיהם. However, says Rabbi Shimon Raphael Hirsch, the way they did it was wrong. What does he mean? He means that sometimes there is a goal, but not by all means. You, Shimon and Levi, you basically deceived the city. You told them that if they will circumcise, you will let Shechem to marry Dinah, and that you will become friends. They believed you. They trusted you. And you lied to them. You deceived them. Can't be a leader like that. If Reuben was impetuous, Shimon and Levi are not. They are working together. They have a feeling of injustice, and they want to fix it. But the way they go about it was wrong. So now we know what kind of leadership qualities we will not have. No Reuben, not Reuben, being impetuous, whatever that means, that he was impetuous or that he was not able to understand the essence of an issue, or instability. And now we have Shimon and Levi that created a sense of achva, a sense of friendships, but the tools, the ways, the instruments through what they used in order to get their goal and to try to achieve whatever they put out there in order to achieve was wrong. A leader cannot lead by deception. So, who is next in line? Yehuda. And why is he next in line, and why was he chosen? Rabbi Shimon Raphael Hirsch has something so insightful about Yehuda. יהודה, אתה יודוך אחיך. יעקב סוקר את בניו כדי למצוא את המוכשר ביותר להיות המנהיג. יעקב screen basically his children and he looks, okay, who is going to be the leader? הוא כבר דחה את ראובן, he already rejected ראובן, שמעון ולוי, and then Shimon and Levi. עתה לבסוף נחו עיניו על יהודה. So in a way he rested his eyes on יהודה. והוא מכריז, and he declares, אתה האיש, אתה הנבחר. You are the man, you are the chosen one. אתה מאחד באישיותך, you are able to unify in your personality את התכונות החסרות לראובן בקצה האחד. You are able to compensate for what Reuben is lacking, ולשמעון ולוי בקצה האחר. And what Shimon and Levi are lacking. So basically, Yehuda in a way is able to compensate for Reuben and Shimon, and he has a personality that has what Reuben and Shimon and Levi don't have. גור אריה יהודה, אתה מאחד את אומץ הלב של הנערות. First, you are very courageous. You are very courageous. It's almost like a teenager. However, wait. Sometimes young adults can be impetuous. That's Reuben's issue. That was Reuben's problem. So, Reb Shimshon Raphael here says, immediately, עם שיקול הדעת של הבגרות. Gur is a lion cub. A lion is a more mature lion, obviously. Yehuda is also a cub, like a little lion, a young lion, and also a mature lion. Which means the common denominator is you are a lion, you are courageous. But you know how to what? How to balance between the youthfulness and maybe even being impetuous and being emotional and show rage, but at the same time to be able to control it with a mature lion that saw some things in his life, and he's not going to run after every rabbit. He's going to wait until his dinner, he put his eyes on some kind of a little animal, a big animal for his dinner. He knows when to run, he knows when to attack. But you have both of them because you need it. Because sometimes when we mature, we become cynics. Cynicism can ruin us. Ideology, youthfulness, this is for the young adults. So if you have both of them, that makes you a strong personality and makes you a leader. מטרף בני עלית, אין בך כל חיבה למלחמה וביזה לשם עצמם. אינך לא צבוע ולא זאב, אינך ארי, שנעלה מרוצח שפל לשם שלל. It says you are a lion. A lion does not just grab things. He just, if he needs to eat, he will eat it. Yehuda, you are not excited for war, but you are not going to shy away from it. כוחו של יהודה אינו בסערת הקרב. The strength of Yehuda is not in the storm of a battlefield. המייחד אותו אינה גבורה המתלהטת והמטילה אימתה בשעת הסכנה רק כדי לשקוע לאחר מכן. His glory, his ability to become a hero. It's not when, in the middle of the battlefield he roars and he tries to attack, but כשהוא רובץ הוא נשאר ארי. One of the greatest things with the lion is that even when he lies down, he's still a lion. You are still terrified of him. You don't want him to start running after you. אף בשעת שלום הוא מטיל אימה בפחד. וכך מבטיח ביטחון מבחוץ, ומנהיגתו מבטיחה את השלום המסייע להתפתחות מבפנים. When you see a lion lies down, there is a sense of fear from him. So this is how he protects his group, and this is how he allows them to grow. So that's Yehuda. And then he continues. האחים מררו את חייו, והכניסו את עצמם לתוך המריבה ללא כל טעם הוגן. So now we are talking about Yosef. So now let's pause here for a second. So this is why Yehuda was chosen. He's a lion, and he knows how to intertwine youthfulness and maturity at the same time. How to control his anger and rage, how to create fear, but without going to battle. So he compensates for Reuben and Shimon and Levi. What about Yosef? So he says, Joseph's brothers made his life miserable. And basically they wanted to ruin his life. But Yosef, says Rabbi Shimon and Levi, כאן מונחת אצילותו של יוסף. אצילות אופיו שאותה רכש בלידתו על ידי השפעת אמו, ואשר עשתה אותו פורת עלי עין, רוממה אותו מיום היוולדו מעל כל האחרים. Yosef was able to overcome the terrible experience he had to go through from his brothers and to sustain them, to take care of them. He got it from his mom, from Rachel, who was willing to give her future, so her sister will not be ashamed when her father made the switch. לכוח האלוקי הזה אשר צר צורה לגורלו של יוסף באופן כה מופלא קורא יעקב אביר יעקב. בגורלו של יוסף רואה חזרה על גורלו שלו. Yaakov, when he gives a blessing to Yosef, he says, I really see you. I see me in you. כדרך שיעקב עזב את בית אביו בעירום ובחוסר כל, אך רק וכדי לזכות בחיי משפחה עשירים. Same way like Yaakov had to leave his parents and to build a home and children outside of Israel. The same thing happened to Yaakov. The same thing happened to Yosef. And it also gave Yosef a sense of kingdom. Yosef is also a leader, not like Yehuda. He's not the ultimate leader, but he's definitely a second in command. Someone who helped the Jewish people all through history and also in modern times. So when Yaakov looks at his children, he tries to send educational lessons. He doesn't chastise Reuben just to hurt him, but to help him out. Work on yourself. Don't be that impetuous. Shimon and Levi, I understand you care about others, but consider the ways you go about in order to achieve your goals. Yehuda is a leader. He's able to intertwine youthfulness and maturity at the same time. And Yosef was able to show tremendous courage in the ability to let go, in the ability to sacrifice himself for others. So the children of Israel, if the ultimate blessing of Yaakov, of our father, is "E'asfu ve'agida lachem," we are very different from each other. Each one of us has his or her unique personality. But when we come together, when we are united, we are a strong lion. A lion that basically does not need to roar or to go to a war too much. He just can lie there and allow us to grow and to flourish. Thank you.